Yeah, YouTubers, Tazman here, bringing you a new video for my T4zzTeaches channel. Now, I know I haven't put a lot onto this channel, and the reason is because this takes a lot of preparation. I have lots of ideas of what I want to put on this channel. However, it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of preparation. So in this video, what I want to teach you guys is how to set up a Linux environment to have PHP, MySQL, and Apache. And so you can make your own websites and stuff. So we're going to learn how to do some PHP coding and such. But in order to do that, you have to have an environment to do it in. Now we could do it in Windows, but Linux is free, and using Vmware, you can have a Linux environment right on your desktop. So I thought that would be kind of fun. So that's what we're going to do. So the very first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to need two things downloaded. First one is you're going to want to go to Google and type in Vm Workstation Player. And then if you kind of scroll, let's see, which one was it? I think it's this one I want. Download Vm Workstation Player. Let's just double check. Yeah, I think this is it. Player for Windows. So you'll want to download, hopefully you have a 64-bit system, because I think this might only work on a 64-bit. We're going to get the latest version. I already have this downloaded, so we don't have to wait for 78 megs to download. The second thing you're going to want to download is Ubuntu, and that's Ubuntu, I don't know, however you want to say it. And what we did is we searched here for Ubuntu LTS download. Now the LTS is the long-term service or something like that. We'll see in the page. So if we go to this one right here, download Ubuntu desktop, load that bad boy up, means long-term support. I said service. Now we're going to download this one. Now this one is a pretty darn big one. It's like 1.3 gigs, I think it was. 1.4 gigs. So this is going to take a little while to download. Now, one thing I can't show you is how to install VMware Workstation Player, because I actually have VMware Workstation, and you can't install the player and the real workstation alongside of it. So unfortunately, we can't show you that. But once it is installed, you will have a screen like probably the next one I'm going to show you. Now, hopefully the video doesn't get all messed up or tweaked weird or whatever. I'm not sure. My original screen recorder automatically resizes the video to fit the 720p screen. This one's a tiny bit on the height side, is a little bit big, so we might have black bars somewhere. I don't know, but we just might have to deal with that a little bit. So anyway, I'm going to pause the video here, and when we come back, I'm going to assume you have your VM Workstation Player installed and ready to go, and we're going to be in my VMware Workstation also, and we're going to install a version of Linux. So I will see you guys in a minute. Okay, we're back. Now, as you can see, just to save on time, I already have the VM installed, but I'm going to still walk you through the process as you would do it. And I believe it's pretty much all the same. If we go over to the file here, you're not going to be able to see this because I have the window stretched, but then you can do new virtual machine. Or there's usually a welcome screen. There's a big old button that says virtual machine. So for our needs, we're just going to go ahead and do a typical install. And then here we're pointing to our desktop where I have the Ubuntu ISO. As you can see, it's 16.404.2. and it's 64-bit. So we hit next on there. The next thing we need to do is give a username. So we're just gonna say T4zzM4NN, and for the username we're just gonna do lowercase, same thing, T4zzM4NN, just like that. Give it a password and tab, and forgot to do this part. Okay, so and then you hit next. This is where you give the virtual machine a name, and we call it Tazztopia, Tazztopia. Why do we call it that? Yeah, because we can. We're gonna actually just change this. We're not actually gonna create the folder, but when we go to the creation part, we'll cancel because we already have it created and it's installed. The install, when you do with Ubuntu, is really quick. Basically, you just power it on and it will actually do everything for you. You don't have to worry about any of these components and setting it up. We're just going to let it do the default. Alright, so moving on, we have that we're just going to give it the default. If you have more hard drive space, more power to you. We're going to go ahead, because it's just a small one, we're going to do it as a single virtual disk. And then here we're going to go into the customized hardware, and I like to beef up the RAM a little bit. I have 16 gigs in this system. I would recommend at least 2, but I'm going to do 4 on mine. And then the other thing is, if you have a multi-core processor, then you might want to give it a little bit more. So I have, I believe it's a 12 core or something like that. So, you know, give it 2 processors. This is Linux. It's not going to require much. But if you want it to have that extra oomph, you want to go ahead and do that. So here is when we close this, we now have the option to finish. This would reboot, this will actually power on the virtual machine and start the server. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here while I get into the server to where it would be, and we'll continue at that point. So I'll see you in yet another minute. Okay, we're back again, and as you can see, the server or the system is now up and it's at the login screen. Now for this first part, the screen is going to be really small and the icons very big, and it kind of makes it a pain in the tushy, but we're going to deal with it. So first thing we want to do is log in, so I'm going to type in my password. There we go, and click this little guy to start. So as you can see, it might take a minute for yours to come up as it's preparing the desktop. I've already done it, like I said. But the first thing we were going to want to do is make it so it's not so compressed. So what we want to do is come down here to this little wrench and gear. We're going to click it, and then we're going to go to display. And it'll say unknown display. I'm going to set this to as close to 1280 by 720 as we can. Unfortunately, we don't have an option to get it exact. So once again, we're going to have those little bars somewhere on the screen with the video because of this. It's 768, which is close. So we're going to do that. We're going to go ahead, and this button right here that you can't see is the apply button. If we grab this, you can actually see it right there. We're just going to leave it where it was. Click apply, and then click keep the configuration. Everything should work okay. Alright, so and now we're into our VM, except for the window's a little skewed. So I'm going to go ahead and stop and restart my recording where we won't see this part up here. We'll just see basically the VM itself. So once again, I will see you in a minute. Okay, we're back, and this is basically, I'm going to have to record the whole thing basically like this. I can't do a screen recorder that's going to grab everything. So this should hopefully, like I said, not be way too irritating with how it fits into the screen. I really hope it doesn't. So one of the first things I like to do is I hate ginormous icons like this. So we can change the size of title bar. See how fat our title bar here is and how fat this is. If we take this down, I like to take it down to about 75. As you can see, it's a bit smaller. I don't like these big icons yet like this, but that's not actually what we're changing. We're actually changing the title bars like this guy up here and such. Let's see, anything else I like to do in here before we leave it? No. Display with the largest icons with the smallest controls. Let's see what that looks like. Let's hit apply. I can't remember what that one did. I think these are your controls right here, and that's fine. We'll just leave it. Smallest controls is good. We're going to go ahead and back out to all settings, and now we're going to go to appearance, and this will be fixing these ugly buttons on the side. So right here where it says 48, if we scroll this down over, you'll see our icons are changing. I personally like, when I have a bigger screen, I actually use 16, but that's a little too small at 720 dpi. So let's do maybe 28's good. Let's do 28. I hate the red background, so we're going to use this guy. And I don't think we need anything in behavior. Actually, yes, right now the default is when you mouse over, if you want your, like in regular Windows, you have your help and everything here, menu. In Ubuntu, it's up here, so you actually mouse over the bar up here. It says appearance. I like it to be in the menu, so we're going to go ahead and tell it to be in the title bar, and you can see it's right there now. And that's fine to leave it with the displayed. If you want it to always be there, see how it says help, and when I move off it says appearance, because that's the name of the thing. If we want it always on, then we just click that. I'm okay with it to be that way. And let's see, I think that is pretty much all we do in here. I think I like it. So the next thing we're going to want to do is get our bar here fixed. We don't have a floppy. We don't need a floppy icon. So we're going to go ahead and undo that. Amazon, don't care about you. We're going to leave the Software Center, but we don't need the LibreOffice stuff. For those of you that don't know, LibreOffice is kind of like Microsoft Office, but free, hence Libre. It's not deleting it off the system. As you can see, if we go under here and then come down here to list applications and then show all applications, you can see that LibreOffice is still here. We still have the actual things. We're just deleting the shortcuts. All right, the other thing, I like to kind of just make it so it's not so big here. So let's go ahead, go back here real quick. And if we click on this guy, I thought it was this guy. There we go. Now it just doesn't take up your whole screen. So one thing we want to set up definitely for our usage would be terminals. In the Linux environment, you heavily use command line. So if you're not comfortable with command line, get comfortable. So we're going to just drag that right here and put it right above Firefox. Just like that. The next thing I like to do is configure my terminal, because boy, if you ask me, this thing is ugly. So I'm going to go under edit here and do profile preference. And we're going to change this up just a little bit here. We're going to change the initial terminal size. Right now it's 80 on the width and 24 on the well, our rows and columns. And we want to change this to more like let's do 100, and 50 was a bit too much, so we're gonna do maybe 45. Oh, whoops, I don't have on my numlock. 100, and then maybe let's do 45. Let's see, I don't care about terminal bell. I do like to change my icon. This guy right up here, I just pointed to it with my finger. You can't see that. So if we go here, I like the I-beam. If you like the underline, you can do that also, but you know, just do the I-beam. I also like to change my font to monospace regular. I usually have it a little smaller than this, but because I want you guys to be able to read what's in there, and I'm assuming you can read what's in there, we're going to leave it at 12. The next thing I do is under colors, I do not use the system colors, and that gets rid of that ugly red. Maybe you like the red, I'm sorry if you do. And then I like my text to actually kind of have an orangish hue to it. So kind of, let's just go in here to orange and kind of a darker one, maybe right around there. There we go, beautiful. And then I use the transparency, but because depending on what you have, that gets hard to read. So I do like the transparency to see what's behind it, but I turn it down pretty low so that it's not so so distracting when it's over something else. So as you can see, we actually have this about 1/8 of the way up. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do anything with this. And I think that is all the settings we need for that. So if we close this and reopen it, we'll at least get our size that we have and make sure that's what we want. I might actually want to go just a little wider. Yeah, let's do that. So we're going to come back into Edit again, go to Profile Preferences, go here, and this is our width. So let's go 125. Oh, not that. 125. Go ahead, close that, and bam, I like that. Gives us a nice bit of room. Okay, so now we have VMware Player running. We have our Linux, can't talk, our Linux installation up and running, and we can verify that it works by typing ifconfig. This is getting the interface configuration. So we do that, we can see right here that our IP address is right here, 172.16.19.130. Now we don't have a web browser on here or anything, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull up a command prompt, and we're going to ping that to make sure my system, my local actual system that's running Windows 10, can ping my new server. Because if we want to be able to access the web page and stuff from our own machine or machines on our local area network, we want this. So we're going to go ahead and do ping. We're going to do 172.16.19.130. Now, if you're going to try and ping this from the internet, you're never going to make it. This is a private IP address. It's in the private ranges, so you're not going to be able to ping my server. So yours will be different too, by the way. So if I hit that, as you can see, server is pinging just fine. So that means we have communication from our Windows desktop to our Linux desktop, and that is awesome. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is kind of get some of the apps that we're going to need. So sometimes it installs it, sometimes it doesn't, but one thing we're going to want is, it's called gt sudo, or sudo, however you want to say it. If this comes up saying that it can't find it, it's not that hard to do. We're going to learn how to install different types of apps. We could use this little guy, but I actually prefer the command line. So first thing we want to do is, if you look right here, you'll see that it says Tasman at Ubuntu, and then there's this little $sign. That means I'm a regular user. I'm limited. I'm a limited user. Maybe that's the best way to say it. So what I want to do is actually be an elevated user. And so what we're going to do is we're going to type sudo and su. This will just give me a root interface. Now, generally, if you want to just run a single command with sudo or sudo, you would just type sudo and the command. So we could type sudo ls to see the directory we're in. And then it's going to ask me my password. And as you can see, you can't really tell that this was done with root, but it was. But if we do sudo and then su, and I will change how I say that constantly, so bear with me. But if we do that, because we just typed in our password a minute ago, it automatically accepted it. Now we are root instead of Tasman, and it put us in our home directory. Well, we're in our home directory already. So the way you can always find out your directory is pwd, present working directory, and it will tell you where you are. Generally, you can also see where you are right here like that. We're going to clear the screen with the clear command just to kind of clean it up. And then what we want to do is get that app. Now, it really kind of helped us when we typed gtsudo. It gave us a hint here. It told us no command gtsudo found. Did you mean or gk? Oh, that's what I don't know if I have gt. I don't know why I was doing that. gk sudo. But as you can see, it's still not installed, and it tells you how you can install it. So it's gksu or gksudo. It's the same thing. So how we install things, we use something called the aptitude install package installer. And what we want to do is, first we want to refresh our repository. So we type apt for aptitude -get and then update. This is going to refresh all the information of what is available to us. And one of the really nice things about this, if you want to kind of compare it to something, I would say it might be like the iTunes Store or Google Play or the Windows Store, except for everything on it's free. You just have to know what you want. So in order to make sure we have the latest repository, we type apt-get update. Now once it does that, it's checking against your system what apps are on it and their current version. So if we want to update our system, after typing that, we can also type apt-get. And if we want to include kernel type things, we could type dist for distribution and upgrade. Like that. It's going to say we don't have any, well, it's going to say we have a lot of stuff. We'll have to do that later. So hit N. But if you don't want it to include things that are distribution, like your kernel and stuff, you just do upgrade alone, and you'll see it's probably a little less. Let's see if we can see, where does it say? 238. We might not have had an actual kernel update. So, and 248. So there's actually 10 things that are system files and such. We don't want to update this right now. It'll take a while. I will do that off camera. So we're going to hit no. So what we want to do is install that gk sudo. So if we type apt-get, we can install individual things by typing install and the name of the thing. If we don't know the name of the thing, then we can actually find it. We can actually type apt what am I thinking? cache, apt cache. This will search the cache file, and then we want to type in what we want to look at. So we're going to type gksu, right? Now sometimes this will pull up a huge list, or whoops, invalid apt cache. Oh, search. I forgot the search. search, search. So as you can see, this listed, we have this Cajasu or Caja. That's Caja is Spanish, and that is extension, granting privilege extension. This is the one we want, graphical front end to su and sudo. Then we have these that are libs that contain gk and su in their name. Now, if you do get a list, and we'll go over this more in depth at a later point, why we're getting other apps, you'll want to actually search within your search results. And we'll talk about that later. Right now, we just want gksu. So now we're going to change this to what we wanted before. So we're going to do apt-get install and gksu. Nice thing about this is it will automatically find any dependencies for you, generally, and it will install those as well. So we're installing this, but it needs this, so it's actually installing that as well. So we're going to hit yes, and Bob's your uncle. It installs everything you need. There we go. Now if we type gksu, even sudo, we now get this little guy. So this is the equivalent to Windows, where you get the run as command, which we might need, we might not, but in case you wanted it in a graphical interface, there it is. However, like we got into this by just typing sudo and su to get into it through command line. All right, so there we go. Let's go ahead and clear our screen again. Cleared. Okay, so I'm imagining we're approaching the 20-minute marker, so I'm probably going to close it out here, and in our next episode we're going to install some of the apps that we need. However, what I want to do just before we do that is I want to get another file that we're going to want to download, and this will be for editing our PHP files. We're going to get a free program called Eclipse, E-C-L-I-P-S-E, Eclipse, and we want PHP. If we type that, we'll get a nice list. We don't want this PDT one, we want this one right here, Eclipse for PHP developers. We're going to go ahead and open that in a new window. And if you're not in it, we want to make sure right here you can see we're in Helicer. So we're in Helios's package. Helio. We want Oxygen because that's the latest one. As you can see, they kind of go alphabetic. So we have GHIJKLMNO. So Oxygen is the latest version of packages that we want. So this is kind of redundant because we're already in the PHP for developers, but it was a quick way to get there. So we clicked Oxygen. Now we're in Oxygen. We want to click on this one right here, PHP for developers. And then we want to select our Linux version. So odds are you're probably in 64-bit. Almost everything nowadays is 64-bit. We're going to click that and let it download. And it looks like we're downloading from Canada. So click download. And as you can see, we want to save the file and hit OK. And we have 4 minutes on my connection. So it's about 187 megs. In the next episode, we're going to go ahead and install this, and then we're going to start installing our different applications like our web server and PHP itself and MySQL, and we're going to do that all with our aptitude. So awesomeness. So I think we did quite a bit. This is going to take a little while. We're going to minimize. Oh, I know one other thing I wanted to do. One nice thing about Linux is you actually have multiple work desktops, I guess. So if you want to use more real estate, you can. And I missed it when we were not here, actually. When we were in here, I missed it. I think it's under appearance. And I think it's under behavior and enable workspaces. This will put a little icon here showing your different workspaces. And what we can do with this is if we want to work on this, but we don't want to have to keep shifting back and forth through the screens, we can send this to, say, workspace 2. Now you notice it's gone. But if we click this guy, we can see it's actually on this workspace. So we can navigate our 4 workspaces by clicking on this guy and then the workspace you want. The other thing you can do is you can press Control-Alt and your arrow keys. So as you can see right there, I'm pointing with my finger again. Right here it was showing the direction we just went. So there you can see that, you can see that. So we're pressing the left arrow, right arrow, left arrow, and it shows you which window you're in. So holding Control-Alt, you can navigate those windows pretty quick. All right, guys, well, I think, let's just check this guy real quick again. Do that. So I think this is a good start. We've got a while on this download. My son's streaming, so this is going to take a bit. But in the next episode, we're going to address getting some of this other stuff up. But pat yourself on the back if you're where we are right now. Pat yourself on the back because you have successfully installed Linux, installed VMware Workstation Player, got a Linux environment up. We've pinged it to make sure that we can see it from our desktop, so we can actually pull up web pages from an external site from this. And we've also installed our sudo. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you did and you learned something, be sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Sign that, comment, like, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. And also check out my Discord. Hopefully I'll remember. I'll put the information in the video description. But aside from that, guys, until next time, I'll be seeing you later. Bye.